say the time. I stop thinking like this. Time is my life, letting shit hurting around my
One, two. Take the car and drive it down Hoostown Road to a cold, dark town only we know. The newspapers read it took time to go, but God was looking down, I hope so. And you're heavy on my heart, but I'm not in control. And you're heavy on my heart, well, you're weighing on my soul.
You know, an average day looks wonderful. I mean, I spend time with my family, my kids, my wife. I do some sports in my spare time. Lacrosse is definitely a passion of mine. I've only been playing the guitar for less than 5 years, so a lot of my spare time is me, you know, writing songs and learning covers and things like that, and just trying to become better as a player and better as a songwriter. In all honesty, this would not be happening if it wasn't for a guy named James Gray. He just had such a passion for my music. Like, he was so invested in my songs right off the beginning that it was his idea, like, well, why don't we do a demo? And you know, at this point I was like, well, yeah, I have like, you know, 5 or 6 songs. He's like, oh, well, why don't you do a couple more songs and we can do an album? Like, I didn't know really I mean, I knew a little bit of the process because I lived with a musician in Kingston for a while, but this young guy who just loves music, is a great musician himself, was so invested in wanting to hear what I was doing. And then he offered to be his first producing job. So we sort of learned at the same time. He said, you know, I've never done this before, but I have this equipment and I think you have a great sound and I want to produce your album. So we just got to work on it. We decided that we really wanted to strip things back. We didn't want to do too much production on these songs. We just wanted, you know, to have a very natural feel to them. And yeah, to be honest, it just would not happen if it wasn't for James. It's so amazing that he was just became close friends immediately, and just really invested himself in my own songs and my own sound. So I owe a lot to him. Yeah. Now that I've realized that I've had a problem and I break down my life from an early age, maybe I had those thoughts when I was quite young, or maybe getting into my teenage years, but I never really thought about that I had a mental illness issue. I'm not sure what I would label my mental illness as. I guess I've never really been diagnosed with having a mental illness problem, but the way that my mind works, if something in our small town happens, it's like my brain just constantly races about, you know, I wrote a song about a young boy losing his life, and it's like I didn't dwell on it, you know, over the course of a day, where it's like, oh, I feel so bad for the family. It was something that like my mind raced about for months. I would think about lyrics to this song and you know, my own personal demons, you know, staying off of drugs, you know, am I doing a good job raising my children? Am I being a good husband? Questioning things. It's not something that is in and out of my brain. It's constantly in my brain. My brain rushes and rushes and rushes about these things. And unfortunately, when my thoughts get very dark, they stay very dark, and it gets worse and worse and worse. I almost convinced myself in my brain, I have a beautiful life, and I'm very happy with it, but my brain tells me otherwise, that maybe taking my own life is the best option to get to be I don't want to think like that. I knew my kids would be okay because they're young and they're too young to understand. And my dad's a very strong man. And I know he'd be very upset, but he'd still always be proud of me. And my sisters would tell, stories about me that they were proud of me. But the one thing that kept me... You think about stupid things like money and you want to make sure like your wife's okay, your spouse is okay, but the only thing that stopped me was there was this little picture in my head that Leslie Ann just would not stop crying after I did it. And I couldn't do that to her. I just could never picture her really fully getting over it like I could picture a lot of the other people that are important in my life would get over it. But her, it just seemed like there was something that, a photograph in my brain, a picture taken in my brain was that she would not be okay. And that's what stopped me from doing it.
Can you walk me through how close you have been to taking your own life?
Way too close. I've been way too close. I can't get my mind to stop thinking about the thoughts that I know are wrong. Like I've been to the point where I'm planning it. I don't want to make things messy. I want to make sure that people are taken care of, that I'm gone. I want people to know that they're better off without me here. And that's the kind of thoughts that I have. And I don't want to think like that. But as far as how close I've been, you couldn't get any closer. Mental illness is a serious issue, and it's people can relate, or people have experienced a tragedy when it comes to cancer, or when it comes to AIDS, or when it comes to an accident. And I just find that mental illness, when people, convince themselves that they're not meant for this world, or that they're better off without being here, it's a real tragedy to lose somebody in that way. And I just hope that, the reason why I'm doing this is I hope that I can raise awareness that we have a serious issue to deal with in the world when people decide that that's their best option, is to take their own life. There's a bit of shame there that it seems like I might really be beating her down with it, I can't help the way that I think. I wish I could, and I wouldn't want to. There was a long time when I had these thoughts that I never did tell her. I never did tell anybody. Maybe I'd throw hints out there that I needed a little bit of help with her and other people, but it wasn't till over the last couple of years that I actually came right out and told her that I was thinking about committing suicide. And I obviously broke down when I did. And the point I'm trying to make is, it was almost healing being able to finally say it. So if you're like me, or somewhat like me, and you're having these thoughts, just come out and say them. I don't want there to be a stigma that it's embarrassing or you should feel ashamed that you come out and say these things, because the alternative to you not saying anything is a real loss that we would all take. But the really defining moment for me would be when somebody that's very close to me, and he doesn't know how close he is to me, he had left a note that he was going to do that. And he's the type of person that maybe you could link towards a little bit of depression or a little bit of anxiety, but you never really fully think this is what this guy or this girl, this person is thinking. And when he left that, I knew that it was time for me to be brave enough to say, hey, you might not put this hat on me, but this is the way that I am. And I'm not going to be ashamed or embarrassed to talk about committing suicide anymore, and these terrible thoughts that I have. And with this, I hope that it's a trickle effect, that other people can come out and say, you know what, I have these thoughts too. I need to get help, whether it be medically, spiritually. Maybe you find music like I did, and it helps you that way. You know what, since I've had the breakthrough of telling Leslie Ann and then telling a group of strangers who I was very comfortable with because I knew they were a lot like me, it's just really opened up a huge light on the situation. I'm not afraid anymore. I still get pretty emotional when I talk about the logistics of that I was very close to taking my own life. But those, telling the strangers, telling Leslie Ann is really opened up things and really and set my mind a little bit at ease with my situation. And then of course, really music has helped so much coping. Like I say, my mind races about certain things, and it's almost like it won't go away until I can write something, save it forever, put it away, and then it's out of my head, right? Something I still touch on, but not race on, because I know it's there on paper, it's there recorded on a CD, it's tracked somewhere, and it's like that's my thank you to the thought. The music comes first. I get something in my head, or I'm playing something, I play it over and over and over again, and then, oh, that's wrong, so I'll switch one little thing, and then I get something that's concrete, and then one of those scenarios that is in my head that made my head, my brain race forever, and maybe got me, down kind of low. That's something that's where the emotion comes into the songs, and that's why all the songs are sad. Is because it's coming out of a poisoned mind, which is a line that I've actually used in a song, right? It comes from there, and then the lyrics sort of get worked into the guitar playing. And of course, sometimes you need to, mess around with words a little bit, move them around to make them fit. But that would be the process for me, thinking about something, my mind racing about it and not for a day. Like sometimes it happens a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's even longer. That I'm cleaning by myself. It's very quiet when I do that in the morning. Mind racing. Oh, maybe I'll write this. Have this lyric go with what I was playing on the guitar last night or something like that. So that would be the process for me of writing a song. When I was young, my mother passed away of cancer, and I always thought that was the reason why I turned to drugs, and I was addicted to drugs for about 5 years of my life. And I'm just realizing now that out of the 5 years, I was never really living. I was more like dying. And now when I piece things together, I clean local town businesses, so I have a lot of time. It's very, very quiet, and I just have time to think about my life. And I realized that I was self-medicating for a deeper issue than just depression over my mom. It's that I think I've always had actual mental health problems. The way my life is now, and I have a beautiful wife and 2 great children and a nice house, and we're able to afford to do things that we want to do, but I still get into certain mindsets and mind frames that I think about suicide. And it's very, very tough on me. It's very tough on my wife. And I talked to my doctor. Sorry.
I kept inviting him and I talked to you.
I talked to my doctor, who's a great man in town, and I'm petrified to take drugs because I know how terrible my life was. And whether it be illegal drugs or over-the-counter, that legal drugs that you can take, I don't want that numb feeling. I don't want to be numb. I want to figure out with my mind how I can get over these things. And one of the best things that I can do is play music and write songs. So slowly, I hope I don't have to start being a pill popper, because I was for so long. That part of my life was just terrible. I don't ever want to go back to that. But about 6 months ago was the first time that I said it out loud to her that I wanted to kill myself. And why, I don't know,
But what I realized it's because I have a mental health problem. There's something inside my body that's making me feel this way. And I can go a year, 2 years with not feeling like that, and then all of a sudden it's 3 months constant of terrible thoughts. And I guess you could say I'm coming around now, but I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared what's going to happen a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. So I'm trying to level myself out, and this really helps. So yeah, excuse me for being choked up, so hopefully I can get through some songs for it.
The reason I reached out to Canadian Mental Health Association was I knew I wanted to complete this project. And of course, when you do a project, you don't want it to be closed, you want it to open up. So I'm hoping that it just sort of gets spread like wildfire all over, because it's not about the fame, it's about the exposure for this issue. So the reason why I reached out to them was because I was essentially sitting around with LA and said, you know, if I make this album, if I make this documentary, how could that not only help us, but help other people? And she said, well, why don't you maybe do a donation of your sales to whatever organization you deem fit? So of course, like everybody, you Google something and the first thing that pops up and the best resource that's available for people in this area is Canadian Mental Health Association with the Muskoka Parry Sound Branch. So I reached out to them and told them that I would be donating a certain amount of money from every unit that we sell. And they of course were interested in my story. So I was asked to come out and share my story with a group of people that also are quite brave in telling their own story about mental illness. And that would be the first time that within a small group, other than Leslie Ann, that I actually said these are the sort of thoughts that I had with people that I don't know. So it was a great breaking point for me to really feel out how I'm going to spread the word about this, how I'm going to unleash it on everybody. So they were very supportive, everybody that was there, and Canadian Mental Health Association, they do a great job for people like me. And to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous of releasing this for everybody, because the point of it is not to be ashamed and just step up and be brave and say that these are the sort of thoughts I have. At the same time, your brain still tells you that maybe you should be ashamed of this. I want to break that wide open. So this is the point of combining the emotional songs on the album with this documentary.
I know where it is that you came from way across the near frozen pond, on a big old steel boat or aeroplane, with big blue eyes to dream of love. You made your boy hard but good life. It allowed you to teach us some, teach wrong from right. I was taught to live